Hello, everybody. Welcome to Big Sales Talk with Melinda Chen at Women Making Big Sales. At Women Making Big Sales, I always tell people, we're not just about sales. We're not just about, hey, let's talk about sales strategy, sales funnel, emails, prospecting. It's not just about that. Every time I speak with female entrepreneurs, we're going out there and selling to big companies, impressive executives and founders. The point is that mindset, the ability to go out there and say, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to compete with all the other amazing people. And that is by itself just amazing and incredible. And that's why at Big Sales Talk, the past few weeks, I've been really focusing on going out there and talk to successful entrepreneurs, the ones who actually did it and how they did it, their mindsets, how they got the first clients, because that's usually where it started, right? The first step and that baby step. And that's why today I'm super, super honored and excited to be speaking with Laura Coe. When I saw her profile, her experience, her entrepreneurial journey, I'm like, I would love to know how she accomplished this. Right now, she is a podcaster. She has her own podcast, The Art of Authenticity. But she's a successful entrepreneur. She successfully founded a healthcare technology company and actually sold it. So that was a bit like her past life, but right now she's really using her entrepreneurial experience and and also her passion for authenticity to combine the two and help more people. And we're here to talk about her success stories, how she founded the company, how she found her first clients, and then what she thinks now. What would she have done differently? Anyway, enough of me talking. I hate talking. I love talking to the people who are going to learn lots of stuff from. So hi, Laura. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that warm introduction.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I always prefer people talking about your journey, what you're doing right now. Do you mind just give us a really short, brief intro of what you've been up to and how they led you where you are now?
Sure. Do you want the quick version?
Go ahead. Whatever you think it's relevant. Especially your experience. I think it really would benefit a lot of entrepreneurs. So, let's say
Sure.
your version. Yeah.
So, jump in at any point. I'll sort of give you the big picture highlight reel. But I was a philosophy undergrad and graduate student, recognized I didn't really want to write to a small community of people. So I left not knowing what I was doing. My father is the leading expert in the world in a particular disease state, kidney stones. I was coming through Chicago, no real interest in being in healthcare particularly, but this opportunity came and it was just one that was hard to pass. So my brother and I took my father's intellectual property in what he had done to help patients nationally, and we built an entire company bringing that service out to patients nationally. We commercialized it essentially. Mm-hmm. What works in a single doctor's office didn't exactly work, doctors in every state in America. So I spent about 10 years building out this massive infrastructure. We were a laboratory at our core, but we took the point of care service and we started delivering it through technology and design. And, and not to date myself, but this was back in the 90s, early 2000s. And so it was really tough to get done. What is now a really basic thing, like getting a website up in 20 minutes, these kinds of things took massive investments and time. Wow. So we use technology and design to bring out this information in a way that doctors could deliver the same kind of care no matter what hospital you were in, because there's a big difference in America depending on where you go and which doctor you see. So we built that up over 10 years. We sold it to LabCorp of America, which is the second largest lab. A little bit boring and eggheady of me, but basically the whole lab industry was consolidated into two companies over that 10-year period. And so they came knocking and we joined them. They're a $4 billion business. So we rolled our company into this company. That was an entire story in itself, probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
That was 10 years after you founded the company.
Yeah. We had been 10 years at it. And then I was an executive there. Classic story. The golden handcuffs, the stock options, I had a benefit on my benefit with an extra benefit. I mean, it was, it's just crazy. But I truly hated corporate America. It was just not at all for me. So I very quickly made the decision after my 2-year contract to leave. I had a 3-year-old, and I kind of left with no real plan other than I just wanted to find something that felt really authentic and meaningful to me, because despite all the success I had in my entrepreneurial world, there was something that didn't quite, I don't know, fit for me. And I later learned it was the healthcare market was just, if you look at my bookshelf, there's just not a single healthcare book on the shelf. So I loved entrepreneurship. I've now blended it with spirituality and philosophy and trying to help people create a life that's meaningful to them.
And you also have a coaching program, right?
Yeah. So how do you design a life? How do you find out what you want to do with your life? How do you figure out your core talents? How do you bring those talents out to the world effectively? These are the kinds of things we don't learn in school. We just, we learn a lot of knowledge in school, but we don't necessarily learn how to design a life. And so that's what I help entrepreneurs with, but also academics. And I mean, all sorts of people struggle with this one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's something that we should be taught. I would love to speak with you at the second part of our interview is, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who are talking about sales. And the beginning part of the entrepreneurial journey, it was pretty straightforward, try to get clients, trying to have a stable income and try to make grow this. But afterwards, what then? I mean, do we seem happy? Are we happy with what we've achieved or have not achieved? And how do we, I think we still got to come back to ourselves and say, is this really what I want?
Or hopefully, could we start that process selling something that we wanted in the first place and, making it sort of one and the same? I don't think people ask themselves that question out of the gate. It's just go, but they don't necessarily stop and say, the classic question in entrepreneurship is, I'm trying to solve a problem in the market that I think I'm particularly suited to solve, and I have a solution. Yeah. But, are you sure? Like, is this really the thing you want to dedicate your time and efforts in? Because it's hard, right? Entrepreneurship is a really difficult process. Yeah,
it is hard. And hopefully you are doing something you enjoy doing instead of just faking it or trying to please your clients. Yeah. So let's talk about it, the second part of the interview, but I would love to just kind of, I think a lot of us here, we're hoping to find more insights through people's success stories, how they tapped into the clients, their first clients. And since, it's about women making big sales, we're focusing on the sales part. Can you just share with us the beginning of the journey, just bring back to, I don't know, maybe 13, 15 years ago. And, how do you get your first couple of clients, or how to really figure out, what do we say? Did you do a lot of, cold calling or just?
Yeah. No. So we were a little unique of a company in that my father's reputation was something we could leverage. Mm-hmm. And not everybody has this opportunity, but I think it actually makes for a very interesting point. So our first clients were actually NYU, Harvard, Stanford. And these clients came about by my dad simply picking up the telephone and using his, 30-year reputation to say, hey, I've got something that I think you want. Mm-hmm. And this is where I think people, to your point, right? Like, you're an entrepreneur, sell. Sell what? Right? Do you have your message clear? Do you have your product organized? Do you have this thing going on? Because you can sell a lot more effectively when those things are actually all really, teed up and clear. Yeah. And so we were able to get the client on the phone, but we were not able to effectively get these clients to use us. Say an average doctor would see 400 of these patients in a month. They might send us four patients, right? So there was a huge disconnect in the quote sale and then the person actually using our product all the time, because we were still off point. And I think that's kind of what's fun about the early stages of entrepreneurship is people want to get out of the gate and they want to sell, and they hear these stories. I'm going to be a millionaire in 2 years, or 5 million in 3 years. They set these goals. and that's great. Like I love setting goals, but, do you have your pitch points clear? Do you know what your product is really doing? Do you really understand how it's impacting your customer and exactly how this is going to add value to them? Because when you get that stuff clear, you can 10x, 100x your sales. And I think for us, when we understood the barriers for the customer, like why weren't they using us, and we changed our product around, then we went, we grew like 400% that year.
Okay. So can you just share with us at the beginning, how long did it take you? I mean, and you mentioned that right off the bat, you were able to leverage your father's reputation and get your foot in the door. That's how we call it, get your foot in the door to some really big, accounts.
Yeah.
You're probably not closing, or people are not really, buying into the product. How long did it take you, that process, to figure out, hey, what's going on? How did you make that shift?
Yeah, it's great. I think a lot of entrepreneurs will relate to this. We were a little in love with ourselves, right? So we were sort of wondering, well, why aren't they just using us? What's wrong with them a little bit, right? And I would cozy up to them more and more and make better relationships. I was relationship building like crazy. The doctors always have a nurse that they connect you to because they don't want to deal with any of the details. So I had these friends in every state, like these nurses and I were chummy, and I was trying to figure out ways to endear myself, to get them to think about us, all of these, concepts of what to do to get them to understand this is great. What's the problem, right? But we weren't stopping and saying there is definitely a problem and it's us, not them. It's not there. We were like frustrated. Well, this is the best product on the market for patients. I'm just frustrated that you're not getting that, right? Was kind of the mindset.
Wow.
My dad had proven this for a long, long time. Why aren't you guys using it? What can we do to help you understand the benefits? Instead of really saying, okay, they're not, what do we need to do to make this better? So those were, the very early days was a lot of just relationship building, talking, thinking, okay, this will be it. Getting a few more clients, if we get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more clients, that'll be it. And so I think it was about 2 years in where we had a big sort of stop moment. We were hearing the same things. And for anybody out there, if you get the same message twice or 3 times, that should be enough. The market tells you exactly what is working and not working. It's your own ability to hear that and pivot really quickly and address it that sort of gets in your way. And we were in our own way. So we got it. When you signed up with us, there was this long laundry list of things that you had to do. And so we flipped that model and we took over everything. We did it all ourselves. We made a little prescription pad, just like you would use for a prescription at the drugstore for our services. So it was very similar to the doctor's life practice. All they had to do was check a box and everything else was taken care of by us. So we essentially became the nurse, right? We did all of the things that the doctor's office would normally do. We trained the patients, we had them call us, we sent the materials they needed to their house. And when we did that, it was like something magical just happened. I didn't need to sell anymore. The sales pitch was, check the box, we take care of everything.
Wow.
Boom. Okay. Yeah. How much, like how many packs can I send you? Yeah.
That is amazing. I mean, we're always trying to become more competitive, product wise, pricing wise, service wise. And one thing I always notice is that the process, the whole process, the buying process, and people could analyze it and make it more competitive, meaning that, and you mentioned it while we were just, before we started doing the interview, you mentioned about removing all the obstacles.
Yes.
That people might have to buy from you. And that's basically what you did. It's not like from what you just mentioned, you didn't revamp the product itself.
Nope. The product was actually almost identical to the original when we got it. Sometimes you have to redo the product. It was just all of the bells and whistles and the ways in which the customer interacted with it and the ease of use. People are by nature a little impatient. Anything that gets in somebody's way is just one reason, maybe I'll put this off till tomorrow, unless it's something if you're selling something like an iPhone where it's fun, right? Like I want this because I love it and I'll get in line for 2 hours. Then that sells itself in its own way, except there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
But a lot of things people need or want, there's a lot of reasons to just hold off. So you want to get rid of all of those barriers.
Okay. And you mentioned a little bit about, the fact that you're very, very close. Well, you're trying to build relationship with the nurses, and there's also the doctors. And I just kind of want to ask you the relationship, meaning that you were always talking about, hey, sell to the doctors and sell to the doctors. So those would be, we call it in sales, like the decision makers, the people who are making the decisions. But at the same time, I find that in sales, there is a lot of value and importance that we should put in terms of the insider information. So the information you can get from the gatekeeper, the nurses, or, the people who are in the industries. Did you find that useful, when you're connecting with the nurses, like, getting some insights of what the decision maker is thinking or?
Oh my God, absolutely. So invaluable to figure out who you are in the equation. Right. I talk to people a lot about this when I coach on entrepreneurship, but I might be, say you and I right now, right? Like what number am I on your priority list? What number are you on mine? And understanding that is such a critical thing. So we bought supplies from different supply houses. There was a lot of companies that offered the same supplies. So like they just weren't that high on my priority list, but I might have been at the top of theirs. So for me, the doctor making that decision, this is all I'm thinking about because it's my company and I want another sale and I have another client, but he has 100 things going on. So recognizing where they're at and then who they are, right? So the two pieces, where do you sit on their priority list? And then understanding the dynamics in their own space. So the doctor is the decision maker, but learning, okay, doctors are decision makers, but they immediately turf that off to the nurses. How does the nurse feel about it? She actually hated it because that's what happened to her all day long. Not me, but the doctors are always giving them one more thing to do and the nurses aren't paid that well, right? Mm-hmm. They want to do the right thing for patients. So was your entry point. When the nurse understood this was really high value to the patient, we were able to get the nurse on our side. So that comprehension that really the doctor was the quick yes or no, and then we're not going to talk to him ever again.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that the nurse had her reasons for wanting to do it and to tap into that instead of saying the doctor told you to do this, right? Like you need to get it done. I mean, you can't talk to them that way. You have to really understand them and now have a whole new dynamic. In fact, the most important thing to the doctor, the decision maker, was that the nurse wasn't upset because they don't want to hear this nurse complaining all day long about this, right? So that became the primary relationship, to be honest, right? And just keeping them super happy. So I spent a lot of time endearing myself to these women and reminding them of the value of the product and what can I do to be of more help to them. And that went a long way when there was problems at the beginning. Because at the beginning too, your systems are imperfect and there's it buys them a lot of goodwill by doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of experience where, the decision maker is like, hey, if she says yes, then fine, we'll go ahead with it. And it's like the decision, that moment to make that purchasing decision could be 5 seconds. But basically she's like, hey, if my gatekeeper says that, if she says it's a go, I'll just have it a go kind of thing. And that's why it's so important. A lot of us were just trying to bypass that gatekeeper or bypass the nurses and say, well, all I want to do is bypass you. So I'm going to try my way to bypass you and get to the decision maker instead of just really sell to her, the nurses. If she says yes, you're more likely to have the doctor saying yes.
Yeah. And I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I just made it a practice. My employees, the nurse, the doctors, everybody, literally the people selling to me, be incredibly nice to everybody, right? Because even the people that I am purchasing from, they have an opportunity to give me a discount if they like me, if like we have a good relationship. So I just made it a practice, like be really cool to everybody all the time. In the very, very, very short term, it is more effective sometimes to not be that way, right? Like
Yeah.
In the very short term, it's like the doctor
Negotiation.
said, you need to do this, you need to do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the doctor and I'm going to tell him that you're the problem. That's going to kill you in the long term, because you don't know that the doctor is going to side with you. I get it. Like, I was there, the early phases, it's grueling, it's tiring. You don't really see, everybody's waiting for that hockey puck effect, right? Where things just suddenly
Yes.
go upward.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the challenge is those moments, you could never predict them. I mean, ours was so random. So people are waiting for that. Just be kind, do the good work, do what's right. And you'll get there, right? If you have a good product, it's really high quality, people are buying in, as long as you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And don't fall in love with your product.
Don't fall in love with your product. Don't fall in love with yourself. Don't get discouraged. People are just busy. It's not personal.
Yeah. No, I think that hockey puck effect is something that, it's so important to tell people about it, because especially, and we talked a little bit, before, is that especially in today's age, there's so much information out there. Say, if you do this, next year, next month, you're going to make 6 figures.
Oh, I don't even. I get so mad at this topic. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but that is unfortunate, because it does take that a bit of, flat. With you, it took 2 years. But if people were just met you like at that pivotal moment of your business, and they say, well, last year from, month 1 to month 2, you grew by 400%, they didn't really see what happened before that. And I'm the same way too. And I've got to go out and tell people, I talk to people about the fact that, I'm selling to big companies and I make big sales, but I've made 5,000 cold calls.
Right. And how many years have you done this?
Exactly. I've been doing this for 16 years. I mean, I'm hoping that you'll be able to get your results faster. And that's what I'm trying to help people with. But,
but it's unrealistic, and it's the wrong goal, because here's the weird thing about business. You make 6 figures. What do you mean? You grow 6 figures in your business. Is that what you mean? Because you're not pocketing 6 figures.
Exactly.
And then you have to make these really important decisions. How much of that are you taking home, right? Yeah. People don't recognize there's a second phase of growth where the numbers are coming in, you're getting 6 figures, 2, 3, 4, 5 times over. You still haven't taken home a decent salary because you had to invest back into, watch Shark Tank, right? Like, this is one of the number one reasons people show up on that show. I need the investment because I can't get ahead of the sales. If your company starts doing well, you have inventory, you have employees to purchase, you have now bigger space. It takes a while until the cash comes to your pocket if you're investing properly back into the company. And so people feel frustrated with that too. I've had this 5 years and I'm only making 30,000. Yes, that's right. You can siphon all the cash out, but then, who's growing this company up, right? And you're going to slow down the growth. So yeah, this 6-figure thing on the internet, if I could just get one, I feel like I'm going to tattoo it on me or something, but just forget it. Just forget that people are talking that way. It's a house of cards. It doesn't exist. If I could really tell you how to make 6 figures, I don't even understand the concept, right? Like, what does that mean? It means I'm able to tell you that you should find a product that works, learn how to sell, create a whole business, learn how to manage people. That's how you make 6 figures. You can't talk about making the actual dollars. I don't even know what these people are saying. So all these little weird methods out there.
Too. The expectation is extremely important, because I see a lot of people expecting the results in 3 months, 6 months, whereas the product is perfectly good. What they're selling is perfectly good. It just needs time.
100%. And here, you guys, I had a world-renowned leading expert who hooked us up with Harvard, and it took us that long. So, this was a tried and true. He had 25 years experience, and in the industry, the product had been used at University of Chicago for all of those years. If you went to my father at University of Chicago, you would not get another kidney stone. He had written every article, 300 articles, 5 books on the topic. So I'm coming out of the gate with something 100% working.
Authority, connections.
Everything.
Yeah.
Still took a long time because this stuff is hard. So yes, there's these little stories every once in a while you read about where somebody makes it huge in a short window, but that's like a lotto. And I loved hearing the backstory. Did they really? I know the family that did Groupon, and people think it happened really quickly. It was actually a different business before it was Groupon. It was another product that was failing. So it's not true. They didn't just, once they realized the Groupon model, it went quickly. But you have to make sure to check the whole story. Like Melinda just said, she's been selling for 16 years. So yes, she can close, but can't discount those 16 years of experience.
Yeah. And lots of cold calls. I'm telling people that, I mean, it's just, like when I pick up the phone now, it's easy because, there was a lot of no's I've gotten. So
that's right. That's right. So it takes time and that's okay. But, I think the challenge, and I wonder if you've experienced this too, is that people start to feel bad about themselves. What's wrong with me or my product that I haven't made a ton of money in a year? And it's nothing. Yeah, most people give up. So really the challenge of entrepreneurship isn't the quality of the product or people as the value it offers. It's that it's too much of a grind and people just can't sort of stick to it throughout the whole process. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we always talk about the fact that it takes, 7 to 10 contacts to close a deal. Sometimes it could take a lot longer than that. But I always tell people that just have that reasonable expectation, because a lot of people, they send out the first email to kind of introduce the company and the client does not write to them back. It's like, oh no, this is not a good lead. I am never going to make it. And I get it. I get that, you send it out, you never know what's going to happen. You start having those doubts in your mind. I always tell people it's completely normal. Even now, I still have doubts. When I send out emails, when I send it out, proposal, it's like, oh, he's never going to say yes. There's no way. You get those doubts, but get over it. It's just, I always say dance with it. It's going to be around. But you got to have reasonable expectations and take your time, because it takes time.
You're not a priority. You just have to get over taking it personally. You're not their priority. Like, unless you're coming across their desk with the thing that they have been literally thinking about that week and it's essential to their life, it's just, you have to get them to add you to their list, and they already have a list of 50 deep of things that they're doing. Why would I do that, right? I'm busy. So hit them up 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It takes a long time. I have a friend who's great in sales. He runs a non-for-profit and he has all of these tricks. He sends them an article they might like, right? Like he spaces it out over a period of time. Some contacts, sometimes he reaches out and it's a ask, and sometimes it's just an offer. Mix it up, right? Like, but he never gives up. He finds it a completely amusing game. And if you can look at it that way, that it's just figuring out how to, everybody has inboxes, right? Everybody listening has an inbox. You know what it's like to go through your inbox. What catches your eye? Why are you opening what you're opening? Why are you going to follow up? It's random, right? And it's sort of what you're interested in that week.
And know your clients at the same time. Know what they're, what they care about. What's the problem with the industry? What are they dealing with? They're not dealing with the service you're trying to sell. Most likely, they're dealing with a bigger picture. Their clients, their expenses, the economy, the interest rate. These are the things they care about, not necessarily what you're trying to solve.
Yeah. And even though our product would help their patients, and they got that, they have to learn it and set it up, right? Like there's just, there's a lethargy there. So it's not a desire. It's not about you.
And I went to a lot of people and just kind of want to hear your thoughts. A lot of people, when it comes to maintaining that relationship, keep hitting them. We can talk about, keep sending them emails, sending them stuff. But, most people, the reality is that we feel, we don't want to feel that we're bothering people, especially as a woman. We hate the fact that, hey, the client is not writing back, is not replying to this email, am I bothering the person? Can you share with us your experience, the first 2 years, you're calling the nurses, how did you feel that way, or what was the experience?
You got to get out of your own way, right? Like, if you view it that way, it's just tormenting. I just saw it as, I'm going to chat with Diane. It's like, hey, Diane, how's it going? Right? Like, I can't think of it that way. I think if you think of it as a relationship in life, where I called my friend and my friend didn't call me back, you're doomed. If it's your boyfriend, women don't love to be the initiators of relationships. And oh my God, I actually stuck my neck out and I asked Jimmy to dance and he didn't reply. I'm horrified. This isn't about your personal life. It's a completely different animal. It's more like if you're getting your credit card bill, I don't know what you think of this analogy, but say you got your bill this week and you found an error in it and you're going to call Citibank or Chase or whoever you bank with.
Yeah.
You're put in a long line and you might talk to somebody after 10 minutes and that person might transfer you and transfer you and transfer you. You're not going to give up till you get that fixed. And it's not about relationship building. And if they disconnect you, you're calling back, right? And in that case, you're probably a little more annoyed than you want to be with a client. But nonetheless, it's just a very different interaction. You're not like, oh my God, I called my cable company and they didn't reply in 2 minutes on the phone. They must hate me. Right? You're just like, oh God, I have to stick to this. I'm going to spend my whole day trying to get through to the cable company.
Yeah.
So in a less irritated way, you want to do that with your clients. You just want to keep showing up. You're not on their list. Get on their list, be really nice, keep it friendly, keep it light. Don't be demanding. You don't have the leverage in the relationship, and make it like a little bit of a game for yourself. I don't know. I know it's like, again, so overly simplistic, but with my employees as well, just be really, really nice, like all the time. It goes a long, long way. Don't be demanding and aggressive and frustrated, because even if you're thinking it, right, I think they can sense it. And so I would get on the phone and I would act as if this was the only thing I had on my plate for the whole year. Like, just, hey, Diane, what you doing? Right. And I could have 50 things to do. Diane was actually an original nurse that I would talk to more often than I wanted to. But I didn't want to be on the phone either. Like, I had 20 things to do, but I had to make it as if Diane was the center of my universe for that period of time, because I needed something from her more than she needed from me.
And can you share with us experience that you just really think that, for example, Diane, have you ever had that experience that you just, even though you know you got to do it, but you didn't think that you were going to get a lot of sales out of it, and boom, at the end, turned out that, hey, that was a good thing I continued talking to Diane, and it was really profitable for you.
Yeah. There was a guy, Dr. Greg, I think it was Cohen, but Greg, out in North Carolina. And we had this completely messed up system from the beginning where we would set our clients up with a computer. Long story I won't bore you with. We had just stopped doing it. We were selling them as research hub centers, and they would get their own computer and I would set it up. And I don't have a background in computers. It was a complete nightmare. It was so much work. Anyways, this dude wanted that system, and I had already said we weren't doing it anymore. But he was very insistent that this is what he wanted. And so back to our point, right? I got on that airplane, I smiled, but like privately I was crying inside. I didn't want to do this. It's like expensive. It was just a complete headache. Went down there, had lunch with the guy, had dinner with the guy, like chatted with the guy, right? Like, I don't want to do any of it, but I'm just smiling my way through the whole thing and thinking, why would he want this? This thing doesn't work. It's going to crash. It's going to be a disaster. Everybody else hates it, but whatever. It's what he wants. He's the client. That was kind of the mantra, right?
Yeah.
Client, yes. My answer was just yes. Yes. Do you want it? Yes. Like, I wouldn't say yes to things I actually couldn't do. Right? Like, if it meant it was a year of coding to be able to give them that system, I would say yes, but just yes in general to everything that I can do. So we went down there, I set him up, came back, and I was like, what a waste. What a nightmare. I think 3 months later, he gives me a call and I'm thinking, oh God, here we go. Problems.
Yeah.
He said, I've been asked to change from this practice to a practice in Ohio. I'm like, great. I set this all up and now you're moving. Like, I just want to rip through the phone and like kill somebody. And I'm like, yeah, sounds great. And he said, I told this new group that I'm not coming without your company. Again, great. It's fantastic. But then he drops it on me. The company has 400 doctors. Yeah. So that's where we hit our growth peak. If you had said to me in our business model, how do I plan to grow the company? I wouldn't have written down random doctor in North Carolina. I like sucked up one thing I didn't want to do, and it became 400% growth curve for us for 2 straight years, right? Like we just hockey pucked. We were just, it was out of control how quickly we were growing.
Wow, that is amazing, amazing experience to share with us. You just don't know. And that's, I mean, I like to tell people that, we can plan our strategy, which we should technically.
That's right.
We should plan our strategy. But the reality is there's a lot of testing the strategy, testing it out, see if it works. If it doesn't work, you change something else. You keep doing it until it hits. And you really don't know. I mean, I'm just like I said, Groupon, a lot of times, they probably did not plan it, but they see an opportunity, tried it. It could work. It could have not worked, but they tried it and it worked. But that doesn't discount all the other things they've tried before.
Yeah. And I mean, we're humming along, we're growing, I think most people would say a 20% growth per year is really solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, like these rapid growth moments that everybody's looking for, which I also, I just want to caution against. We had probably at that point 3 years into the company when we had our rapid growth. Thank God, because it gave me time to have employees to get used to managing, to get used to infrastructure, HR manuals, legal stuff. Like if you have rapid growth in the first 6 months and you're suddenly hiring 10, 15, 20, 30 people, it can actually, destroy companies. So everybody wants that like rapid growth moment, but you have to also be ready for it as an entrepreneur. So you want to think about that. But it was really exciting and it was not predictable. I think you have your strategy, you keep going with it, but the most random things happen along the way that you just, you couldn't foresee. That's what makes it fun though, to me.
That's amazing. Yeah. So what would you have done differently?
Yeah. I think that, our culture is designed around this idea that I check all these boxes. When I get married, when I have a child, when I have a certain amount of success, when I have a certain amount of money, then I will be happy. And the thing that I now talk to people about on my podcast who are really successful, I coach people to help them understand that happiness and success are not the same. Fulfillment and success are not the same. So success is really a matrix, like those check boxes. These are the things that create success in my life. Fulfillment is a completely different thing. Am I doing what I love? Am I doing the things that have meaning? Do I feel that that this is what gives me a sense of purpose in my life? And what I really encourage people to do is to combine the two. And there's no reason not to. I just didn't know to ask that question. So I talk to people on the podcast, how do you think about success and authenticity? So meaning, how do I have a life that is deeply meaningful to me and purpose-based, but I also have a ton of success? And from there, you might need to redefine success. It doesn't need to be 6 figures for everybody. We think that, but do you really love possessions? Like, is that a critical part of your life? Do you need children? Some people say they do, but they don't necessarily even want kids. Do you like, what does it really mean to have had success in your life? When you ask yourself that question for real, it might just be something as simple as I want freedom. Mm-hmm. And so I see finances as a way towards freedom, right? So defining that stuff up front instead of after the fact is what I think is so meaningful now.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to talk about along the way, because especially when it comes to sales and entrepreneurship, along the way, we like to say, hey, we're just going to keep working and working and working, but you get lost sometimes. There's failure, there's up and downs, and you wonder whether you're doing the right thing or not. In terms of staying true to yourself, stay authentic to what you want, in terms of your life, your relationship. Do you have any tricks or tips to let people know, how do you just remind yourself, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is worth it?
Yeah. So I have this game I play with my clients about micro truths. People come to me and they say, I want to know what I want to do with my whole life, right? Like, what should I do with my whole career? That's a hard thing. When do I want to get married? Do I want to get married? Do I want kids?
Tell me, Laura, just tell me.
Right. These are really hard questions and we can try, but it takes time. So the first step to me is, to your point, like along the way we get lost. How do you spend a day living in your truth? Have you spent a single day where, I swear to God, for women in particular, we're so pleasing, or we have so much internal judgment, or we are so critical of ourselves? Can you spend one day where you are guilt-free where you are judgment free, where you aren't trying to please somebody else, and you're just getting what you want for lunch. I mean, I know that sounds like so, but did you wake up when you wanted to wake up? Are you working out because you really would like to work out to feel healthy and strong? Or is everything in your life a should, right? A internal criticism, a lack of internal self-compassion. So getting lost in life and, careers take on a life of their own, families take on a life of their own. It's because somewhere along the way, you stopped talking to yourself about these things in a kind, compassionate way. It's I should, and I suck for these 10 reasons. And people are so hard on themselves. And so they are truly lost. Like, they're talking to themselves, like the inner critic is talking to the inner judge, which is talking to like the person who wants to please. And it's like, where are you in these conversations? So the tip I have is take a day, go out there, just tell yourself the truth. You don't even have to do it. I don't care if you still do things that you don't want to, or that you feel other people want you to do. Just be aware of it. Can you even notice how many times you're doing things for approvals? Or judgment, right? Like those are like the two big ones to me, but yeah.
And then just be aware of it and then let it be.
Yeah. And then start to see if you can challenge yourself to maybe be a little more aligned with what you really want, step by step, right? It's fun. And then, I mean, at this point in my life, I do things because it's a full body. Yes, I want to do it. It is like body, mind, spirit. It feels right to me. This makes sense to me, and I'd like to do it. And so people always push back and say, well, but everything can't be the way we want it. I don't mean that. Like, I want a podcast. It's a full yes for me. Do I like editing the WordPress post that goes live with the podcast? No, I don't like that. So you don't have to like every little piece of it, but I want the podcast. So sometimes there's things within it that I don't, it's a little bit of a grind or not that fun. That's not what I mean, right? It doesn't mean that we don't do some things we don't want to, or sometimes have a little more discipline in the process. But it just means that the bigger picture of the things I'm saying yes to in my life are truly yeses for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think I find it amazing whenever I hear you talk about these, is that there are certain things we just got to go ahead and do it. You're not finding excuses. You don't really drill down on, I don't feel like do it because of that, because of this is too tough. The same thing as building relationship with nurses. There's a lot of talk about, strategy, about how to overcome fear, which I find they're absolutely important topic that we should think about. But I always tell people sometimes we just got to go ahead and do it. Talk. Completely. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of talk in a way, or strategy books, or, or I could write a lot of articles and stuff like that about it. But at the end, there's nothing more important than you just taking that baby step and just go ahead and do it. The same thing with you editing your post. So
completely. And fear, I mean, so what? People get so consumed with this idea of fear. Fear's like, if you feel fear, but an uplift, if you're fearful, but it's a little scary, but you're excited, do it. Like fear is just your brain's way of saying, we haven't been here before. We don't know what's going to come of it. We don't know the outcome. Yeah. If you're feeling fear and dread, like I'm stressed out and I don't want this, then don't do it. But the real question is, where do you feel uplifted and where do you feel weighted down? If you're excited, motivated, if you can see an outcome that you want, just forget about fear. You just, you have to do it anyways. Fear is always hanging out. I think of fear as like your bodyguard, your best friend that's a little overprotective, right? It's always hanging around. It's sometimes poking its nose in business that it doesn't need to be in. So, for example, I write a blog post, fear shows up. Oh, this isn't good enough, blah, blah, blah. I turn to my fear-based thinking and I say, thank you very much. There's no bear chasing me in the woods right now. I don't really need your help. It's just a blog post. I'm going to send this, right? Yes. But it's like unattended to, it's this clamoring in your head telling you not to do things that are really not actually what's going to happen. I'm not going to die. If my blog post is terrible, and 20 people unsubscribed from that one post, whatever, like I can still live through that.
That's amazing. I mean, I think this whole talk is just very true, and they're very transparent. And this whole fear thing is, and I think what you're trying to say is that it's going to be around, but it's not real.
It's not real.
Just get over it. Just get over it. And, I mean, I wish I could have a better formula. I tell people, hey, if you do this, and you would never feel that fear, but it's not going to be there. But just,
oh my God, that's the worst plan. So then we feel shame that we still feel the fear. So fear is going to be there. It's just part of life. Here's the thing about fear that somebody was talking about that I thought was so beautifully put. When you're walking down the street and you're deeply involved in a conversation or something, and then you just have that weird sense like, oh, I got to look up and it's a bus, or it's like, right. Like, oh, my nose fell off the side of a curb or something. Fear is helpful. It gives us that back of the neck, ooh, something's off feeling, or that sixth sense. Oh, I just, think I almost walked into traffic by accident. We need it. It protects us from when we're not really paying attention, or that person that's off, right? Like we get that weird sensibility. It's just a little over used. It's not a problem with a blog post, right? So how can you start to differentiate and let fear be helpful when it's helpful, and remind it to take a back seat when we're just you and I are just chatting on a podcast right now, right?
It's amazing that usually our interview is about 40 minutes, but I feel like we've talked so much. But it's because it's real. It's really raw. We're not trying reinventing the wheel here. I mean, I think it's amazing to hear you share that story. You've actually done it, but you realize that, hey, there's no magic formula. You don't have to go out and look for it, but just keep doing it. Just doing whatever you feel is right, if it's authentic to you, and just go have reasonable expectations and take that baby step.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to disappoint. I know people want to hear here's the 3 steps to success, but there are fundamental truths. I mean, have a good product, do something that is of value to people,
talk to your clients,
work really hard, talk to your clients, make sure that they are you're taking in the information about what it is that they really need, not what you think they need. Things like that are true. Learn how to manage, treat your employees really, really well. I had my most junior employee was with me 7 years.
Wow.
Turnover is not fun. So, learn how to manage, learn how to run projects, things like that. You need to learn those skills, but 6 figures, 6 months, here's my 4-step system. Good luck with that. I I don't know anybody. I know a lot of really successful entrepreneurs. I don't know anybody who's done something formulaic like that. I think that's a new idea in the last 5 years. And I think it's unfortunate it's out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, I would love to have you come up and talk about management. I think that's, the next step when we are able to get 1 to really big clients. How do we outsource, what to delegate? But there's so much I could ask you about. But if people want to know, I mean, about you, about, really what you do, especially your coaching program, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, if you're interested in coaching, I help people from everything from setting goals to prioritizing, figuring out what they love, where their real talents lie. You can find me at Laura Coe, COE.com. And there's a contact. I answer all my emails, so send me a note.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And if anybody who's listening or watching, you want to know more about Laura's tips on delegating and building a team or management, the second part of that growing a big business, let me know, send me a quick message, or, reach out to Laura, say, we want to hear that. And we'll definitely schedule another call about that.
Awesome.
And thank you very much, Laura, for sharing your insights, real insights, transparent, authentic insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun, a great conversation.
Awesome.